it's interesting because probably by nature, because you are artistic souls, you probably have a level of not just passion, I'm sure you have that, but also like a competitive spirit. So and that's healthy, right? Like, I don't know if you were kids that like ran really fast or tried to, or like jumped really high or tried to be the fastest swimmer or just tried to be the most unique and the best poetry or whatever. So what's weird is it's hard to then not feel competitive as you get older because you still want to be like, I see that their career is moving, why is mine not? But the truth is, like, it really is what you just said, is the path does not always makes sense. I mean, how weird that I walked into a TV audition not having watched TV for a long time, not knowing who those people were, didn't have the access, didn't have a computer, didn't have the time to look up them except a little bit. And so I just believed in myself that I was going to say, I love your work and it was going to be okay. And it, not that that's why I got the job, but you know what I'm saying is like, it is weird sometimes when you look back.
I think the thing is, it's super important is that acting training is such a great background for play, imagination. And so I know you're joking about the lying thing, but using your imagination in play. And I think that applying, when we really learn to apply everything we learned to everything.
Yeah.
Like not just your act, you can find different ways, of course, that are constructive and helpful. So it's that creativity, that imagination of the gum under the chair, or whatever. I love your work. Well, it's the
it was the spirit. Actually, it wasn't what I was saying. It was whatever the kookiness of the spirit of the character was kind of what I was embracing. But I'm going to tell you an interesting story. Is sometimes. I have a little story. I'm very good friends with a wonderful actress who went to NYU named Cameron Manheim. She was on Law and Order. And she used to always say when she had kids around your age that got out of NYU that were coming to visit her, she lives in LA and we share time and space with each other. We have boys about the same age. And she would talk about like walking into a room and taking the chair and maybe placing the chair down and like showing your strength right away. And I would listen to her say that, and I love everything about her, so it's not that what she says isn't true. But I remember it took me a moment before I was able to also figure out, but that might be right for a certain role or very right for who Cameron is. Maybe I tend to get roles that are not the placing of the chair like that, although Rose was. And for some reason, I do get a lot of roles like this. But like maybe my chair move is more like, I'm not sure I can actually do this, but I think I can do, you know what I'm saying? So maybe the presentation that you make as you enter a space is not what you heard is the right way. And I'll give you another weird example. So I had this is crazy I had this moment recently where I was auditioning for a role in a film that I wanted bad. I can tell you what it is. Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry. So it's like people you guys all love. It's like Dakota, what's her last name? Dakota. Yeah, what's her name again? Dakota. Yeah, gorgeous, right? And then the Captain America guy, Chris Evans? Yeah, I know. And then the most one that you're all going to melt at is that guy from This Is Us or not Milo. What's his name? Pedro? Yeah. So it's a movie going on in New York with those three. And it wasn't because it was those three. It was the woman who directed that movie, yeah? And she directed something, was an Academy Award nominated film last year that was about a woman caught between two people in her life. One was her husband, and the other was like Past life. Yeah. Do you guys like that film?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this woman was directing that film, and I went nuts about her. I became like almost obsessive. I feel so embarrassed. I saw all the interviews like this that she does talking to students. I saw what her whole life is. She's got like a beautiful trajectory of how she got where she got. I watched all her film. I did this whole thing where I was like, and by the way, I auditioned for a small role in it that was only like 10 lines. And then they didn't even call me back for that. They called me back for one line. And the line was something like, I think it was something like, I'm so desperate. And here's the... So I swear, I love that you laughed. I love you all so much because we can laugh at me now. I was shooting a day on another film, which was actually my only way I could make money for my insurance, and it was in Atlanta, and I was unfamiliar, and I didn't know how to, I'm terrible with technology, that's why I forgot to write it back about the call time and stuff. And so I didn't know how to do anything. I could hardly get on the Zoom. Honestly, I think my glasses were like, I think I had 7 pairs of glasses on, and the light was shining wrong. Anyway, I get on the Zoom. I don't know the casting director is probably on the Zoom too. That's good for you all to know. Maybe secretly, quietly, they do that. So I thought I was just talking to her, whose name, by the way, let's leave it nameless for a moment. Let's call her Extraordinary Director. So I'm talking to Extraordinary Director, and I'm literally gushing the way I probably did with those guys for years ago for the show that changed my life. So here I am thinking, maybe my life's going to change. One line, I'm so desperate. But I wasn't supposed to say the line. I don't think it was just a meeting, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I haven't had meetings like that. I thought I can just be desperate. That's what I am. That's what I feel. That's how I love about her. I overwhelmed that poor, sweet woman so much. I shared with her that I was going through a divorce. I shared with her that she was life-changing to see her films. I love how you're cringing. You're right, I'm cringing too. I basically sat there, and I think the casting director was probably in the other room or with her, just going like, let's get off this, because she kept on being like, thank you so much. I was like, wait a minute. I have to tell you a few more things. Let me get my notes. I got a phone call from my agents. I've never shared this story. I like cried about this for weeks. I had to go into therapy about this, I swear to God. Because I got a phone call from the agents going, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. And they were like, you overwhelmed. You shared things that were way too revealing about your personal life. They got scared. I was like, they? And then I think they didn't even admit. Anyway, I share that story because if I didn't have other parts of my life that had taught me that you can fumble and you can go down and you can be tramped on, that's not the word, trampled, that's the best, yeah, malaprop there. But you can get back up. I might have stopped acting after that because that was one line. And I thought I was supposed to be desperate. And I didn't handle that right. And I even asked the agents, could I write a letter? And they were like, no, because you've already overwhelmed them so much. And I still, to this day, I don't think I'll ever be seen. It was an amazing casting director. I hardly get in for that casting director. Obviously, that director is like my hero. You guys know because I just shared that. But I did it not. I don't know what happened.
But it's such a.
But it's like, yeah,
it's such a beautiful story, and just by telling it, you have the light of. It's so inspiring.
Oh, thanks.
And
but
sometimes
it didn't work.
That is true.
Yeah, it didn't work.
So true. And,
I didn't get the role. I wanted to be near Dakota, Pedro, and Chris. I would have been in a wedding scene with them for many days.
But there's those stories where you do cross the line. Just to give you like a 2-second break, because I did start as an actor, and I remember there was a soap opera called it was The Guiding Light, and Betty Ray was the casting director back then, and she was an actress herself.
Yeah, so
and she
classy.
was very much like this. And I had met her before, and she's terrifying to read, and she reads with you. So she's like...
Yeah, really.
And then you realize the person judging you is reading with you and all of that. And I was so afraid of her. She reminded me of the headmistress of my boarding school. And so I got another audition for Guiding Light, and I remember, and she was playing a guy, and I was supposed to seduce him. And but it's a reverse of that, in that I just was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna, and I sat on her desk, and I seduced her.
How'd it work?
And I did.
Then you got the role.
I didn't get the role, but I got a call back. And then I got day player after day player after day player because of that. So I didn't get it was like
you gave everything.
But that could have been the call.
Yeah,
it could have been the same thing.
I know.
What happened? What did she do? And it could have been like,
and you
she
never
sat
know.
on my desk.
Yeah, it was brave. You were brave. That's the thing. Is sometimes bravery is rewarded, and sometimes like I used to write letters to this. Don't do it this way necessarily, but I used to write letters to directors after I'd done an audition that didn't go right. One of them happened to live in an apartment building adjacent to mine, so I knew how to get in, and I put the letter on her thing. She thought I was stalking her, and they almost like called the police. That I might have a theme about myself. Like I do a little too much, but that's me, and and sometimes I pull it back too. So that's that. But maybe there's the celebration of self that one can realize can work at times and also can fail at times. So someday I will. Maybe if you ever meet director extraordinaire, then you guys can say, you heard a story about someone who loved her so much and she did it the wrong way.
She's such a great actress. It was such a great story.
Yeah, anyway.
So should we let's open up for some questions?
Of course.
Mariano has a mic and you can pass it around.
Yeah.
And thanks.
Hi, sweetie.
Do you prefer stage acting or film acting?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so funny. I was just somewhere, and women were wearing beautiful bows, and I said, "Oh my God, is this a thing?" And then I saw you out there, and I was like, "It's a thing! People are wearing beautiful bows." So, I love to work. I just love to work. So it doesn't matter. Like I love meeting new people. I love being. You can tell this probably about my spirit. I like being in a community. So the stage stuff. Nothing can touch the idea of like lights going down in a theater and that quiet and the moment before and what happens when you don't know what's going to happen, and anything that night is there and it's ephemeral and it will go away and it will never be repeated. And that's kind of like, not only is that a spiritual, it's like, I'll use the word religious, it's otherworldly, it's like, if you believe in the gods, it's like a gods thing, right? I wouldn't say TV and film touches that with the same level, because it does have moments of something that like you float above, but TV and film doesn't allow, for me at least, that same incredible flying. But TV and film has this thing where those cameras find you, and all the accidents, like, my nerves do weird things. I remember when I was a ballet dancer, the woman that was telling me whether she thought I could do it, make it or not. She's very powerful, like what you were just saying about the casting director. And she would sit like this, and she would she was very, very powerful. And when she was telling me what she thought of me, she was playing with tape. And it was like Scotch tape. And I remember in my head, it's so funny, I haven't thought of this in a gazillion years, but I remember thinking, oh, she's like a little girl. She's like playing with tape. And something in the energy of that small detail is giving me an insight into who she is that I never would have thought of. Now, you could still have that happen on a stage. She could play with tape. But I think it's more extraordinary when a camera finds a tiny detail, right? Like, I worked with this actress, you guys know her, I'm sure, Evan Rachel Wood, brilliant. She was on that first TV show that I was on. She was a young kid at the time, 10 or 11 or something. And we had these black and white moments in that where interviews with cameras would do almost like a therapy session. And everything that girl did, if she picked her nose, you were like, that is genius. That is the best genius thing to do. So like she couldn't, if she had a hair and she accidentally did this, so you're like, that choice is amazing. So like, honestly, that's what TV and film can do, right? Is it can take the voyeuristic nature of breathing and not knowing what's being caught. And then later you see it and you go, oh my God, that's kind of extraordinary. And that's why, not for me that I'm extraordinary, but like you see other people, but that's why film actors and TV actors, sometimes if you see them on stage, I'm sure you've seen this a little bit, sometimes they don't know what they're doing because they are waiting for the response to come to them. And they obviously, if it's in a Broadway house, they have to give a little bit more to the audience. But that's not how they worked with the cameras, right? So it's interesting, isn't it, that they don't always translate the film and the TV. But you guys will translate and do translate and can do all of it because you're getting educated in all of it.